Hello, all. I'm just going to make sure you all are connected here. Welcome. This is our virtual open house for our Perfusion program here at Emory School of Nursing. My name is Ashley Chilla. I'm the Associate Director of Admission, and I'm going to let my colleague Michael Walker introduce himself as well.
Hi, so Michael Walker, Director of Admission, Student Services, and Financial Aid. For those of you who are applying, you will get to know me very well. I'll be your main point of contact during the admissions process.
Indeed. So how we're going to structure this hour together is we're going to let Benjamin Giddens, who is on the perfusion team, give a presentation about the program itself. And then we'll open it up for any questions that you may have after that point. Those can be both about the admissions process for this particular degree and for the program itself. We are recording this, so this will be available to you all as of tomorrow, I think in a follow-up email that you'll get so you can go back and look at any of the information that we have covered today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Benjamin Giddens.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Michael. I appreciate you guys getting everything tuned up and ready for us. So thank you. And then hello to everybody joining. Appreciate you guys joining and being interested in perfusion. That's something that I'm biased on, but I really enjoy talking about. So as we go through this PowerPoint, please take notes. And if I get distracted, ram me back in because, again, I like talking about perfusion. So anyways, thank you guys for joining. And we're ready to show you what we have to offer here at Emory. So I'm going to try and share my screen. And as I'm doing that, I'll give you my background. My name is Benjamin Giddens. I'm a cardiovascular perfusionist. I went to school at SUNY Upstate Medical in New York. And since then, I worked at University of Minnesota. I work now at Piedmont Athens in Athens. It's part of the hospital system here in Georgia. There's Piedmont, Atlanta, and other places. The ECMO coordinator and director there of education. And then at Emory, I am the simulation coordinator. And simulation is what I think is the best and most fun part of perfusion, is you get to actually do stuff and put what you learn into practice. So that's my role here. We have Eric McNair, who's our director, and then we also have Brian Dorsey, who is an assistant director and professor. So let's see if this shared screen works. We're going to share the screen. Everybody can see this. There we go. Start at the top. How about that? So this is our Masters in Perfusion program at Emory. For those of you who don't know, they launched their first class in 2023. We have our second cohort of students going on now. We're very excited. And then in the fall, we will begin our third cohort of students. And so for those of you who don't know what a perfusionist is or what a perfusionist does, hopefully today at the end of this, you'll have a better idea. So what we do is, the way I tell our students is our job is to help facilitate cardiac surgery. We're part of an interdisciplinary team, and our job is to help facilitate and allow for a motionless and bloodless surgical field. And so what we do is we operate the heart-lung machine and something called the extracorporeal circuit. Extra is just outside of, corpse or corporeal would be the body. So anytime there's blood and tubing outside of the body, we're usually in control of that in regards to cardiac surgery. We also help operate other devices that help assist in the management of blood, like blood transfusion devices, auto logs and cell savers, and then any other mechanical devices that help with cardiac issues that would be post-surgical. So balloon pumps or Impellas. A lot of people might have heard the word ECMO after COVID. So that's something that a perfusionist would be involved in. And it's a really cool job. So in surgery, when someone does have heart surgery, the surgeon needs to be able to operate on the heart and they can't really do it super well if the heart's beating. So our job is to cause cardiac arrest and maintain systemic blood flow while that surgery is going on, maintaining anesthesia during that process, and then allowing the heart to wake up and restart so that they can go back to the ICU. It is a very high stress job, so that's something that you guys should know about getting into it, but it does come with a lot of reward. And as time has progressed, it's gone from on the job training all the way up to a master's level, which is where we're at today. And it's awesome that Emory's starting this program because there's a huge need for perfusionists. And as we look at, why do we need a master's? This is a good answer of why we might need one, or a good segue. But there's a huge demand in the perfusion field. As you might know, there's the baby boomers who are now in retirement age. And that is a major portion of our population. Heart surgery is a very common thing that happens to the elderly. And then also the amount of perfusionists that are out there, a lot of them are getting close to retirement age. And so there's going to be a huge gap to fill in the near future. So across the board in the United States, we've increased the number of schools. When I was in school, we usually graduated about 200 to 250 students a year, and that would be nationwide. And so you would think that's not that many students, but when the overall amount of perfusionists was around 4,000, 250 is a decent percentage of that. But we are growing. Heart surgery is growing, and as technology advances and we get better at surgical techniques, we are able to open up those surgeries to other patient populations that we might not have been able to service in the past just because of medical advancements. So hopefully you guys can see these numbers here. The numbers are also on the website, but 340,000 bypass operations are done, not including transplants, lung transplants, which would be that annual total of over 900,000. And so we're also involved in the other portion, not just the coronary parts. What does our curriculum look like? Well, I'll hold there real quick. So what do we do? And then why would we need a master's? As you guys can tell, this is a very advanced profession, which requires a lot of skill. And because we have a lot of technology now, there's a lot more things that we have to learn. And so that's what's been the major push for the master's degree. And we're really excited for that. And you guys have the opportunity to be among a class of people who are masters when the majority of the licensed practitioners today are not master's degree. Doesn't mean that they don't have the knowledge, but it is a great opportunity in this field to be in it so soon for a master's degree. If you choose Emory, which we hope that you do, this is what your curriculum would look like. It's not as long as medical school, but it is definitely as rigorous. So it's only 21 months and you are on site. You will go travel after your first 3 semesters, or what we'd call your first year. That would be a fall, a spring, and then a little summer semester. After that, you'd be on rotations, which we'll get to later. But in total, 21 months, 5 total semesters. The course hours are comparable to other perfusion schools and what you would need for a master's program. And you can see the breakdown here that we do break down between didactic, clinical, and simulation. We do pride ourselves on the amount of clinical experience as well as simulation experience our students get with our program. We want to be hands-on, and we want it to be a fully immersive program. So we're very excited about what we have to offer and the structure that we've laid out here. Simulation, again, that's what I am in charge of and love. And so we've shifted and and gone to 3 days instead of 2 days. As we had our first cohort, we're in our growing pains. And so as we were learning, the students have requested more hands-on time, and everybody at Emory has been really great to help facilitate and give us that time and make sure that we have the amount of space we need to practice. This is the data that we do have. As we begin to have more classes, we'll get more data. But for the first class that was started in 2023, most of the students were in state, which is what we expected, because it, again, was a new program, an Emory-based program. So we figured we'd get a lot of people from the Emory system as our applicants. And those are the states that are represented. Our second cohort, we branched out and went a little bit farther. Here's our demographics on age, GPAs, and gender. So we have a very nice mix. GPAs are solid. It's a very competitive GPA. And age, don't want anybody to be discouraged. A lot of people change their professions, and we want to encourage that. As long as you know what you want to do, we want to be able to support you. And we have people that have kids and jobs and all sorts of other things. But if you're able to maintain work, life, and school, go for it. Here's some of the undergrad institutions and people that we've accepted from the prior classes. We hope to add more as we begin to grow. So for undergrads, you guys might be curious of what kind of background you would need. And people come to Perfusion for all sorts of backgrounds. Obviously, there is a tendency for biology or biology pre-med, kinesiology, nursing, respiratory therapy, people to lean more this way, but it's not to say that if you were an art major or had some other major but still met the prerequisites, you would totally be able to get through and go through Perfusion school. But the majority of the people that we see across the board do have some type of clinical or scientific background. As we've done surveys from these classes and from the applicants that we've had, prior roles definitely were some very, very heavy medical, clinical based, which range from medical scribes, cardiac technicians, therapists, respiratory therapists, nurses, and ECMO specialists. Sometimes we've had PAs switch from PA school and come to Perfusion school. So again, it's never too late. Did we just have somebody join? If so, welcome. So this is my favorite part of the whole lecture, or slide rather. This is our ENLC. This is a very, very nice facility that Emory has added to their campus. It's not at their main campus. It is in Decatur, which is very, very close, maybe 7 minutes away. And this is where our simulation is held. And some of our perfusion offices are here. But students come here from all sorts of backgrounds, from nursing and nurse anesthesia and nurse practitioners, perfusion, and this is where they come to do all of their simulation training. The ENLC did just receive its accreditation as a nationally accredited SIM center, which we're very excited to say. I'm very proud of that. We have a lot of state-of-the-art facilities, and as you can see right up here on the right, this is exactly what it looks like when you walk in. A wonderful place to be able to host seminars and all sorts of things. There's multiple high-fidelity simulation rooms, innovation hubs, study rooms, meditation rooms. They've done a really good job of providing everything that the students might need here. And then my favorite part is our high-fidelity operating room, which is downstairs. And It looks exactly like an operating room. It has real medical gas. All of the lines that you hook up would be what you would see when you go out on clinic. So again, we're able to help provide that fully immersive experience in sim and in the class, um, so that when you get out to the OR, you're not seeing something new. You might see something new, but it'll definitely be familiar. So that way our students are confident when they go out on rotations. As I mentioned earlier, there's other programs which I'm sure you guys have looked at, but why Emory? And this is a question we do ask in interviews: is, why would you want to choose us? And we want to let you know why we think you should choose us. And we have a huge team, a great healthcare network down here. Emory has done a wonderful job creating a brand of reliability and patient-centric focus. They do a really good job across the board in all of their programs, letting people know that the needs of the patient come first. And so that's something you're going to get everywhere. And if you are a student here, you'll feel like your family. But then Emory also has a lot of hospitals, and so our students are going to be able to get really hands-on experience with all the tools that a perfusionist would need in their toolbox. We're able to provide students with good exposure to type A dissections, again, children's operations here at CHOA, and heart-lung transplants. We do the most ECMO in the state here in Atlanta. And so we're very excited to be able to have our students literally go right down the road and not have to travel far to be able to get that experience that they need to build, again, that confidence that we want our students to have when they go on our rotations and when they go to take boards and have job interviews. We have 17 clinical sites. We have 7 pending. These are just some that we wanted you guys to see that are close. This would be Piedmont System in Atlanta and other areas, Children's, St. Joe's, Midtown, and Emory. And Wellstar, we also have Maryland University and some other universities that we're very excited about across the country. So as the program begins to grow, we will begin to expand our clinical sites to be able to give our students opportunity to see how perfusion is done, not just in this state, but across the country. Next that we have is prerequisites. I think one thing is the top line is, have they been completed within the past 7 years? And so sometimes you might have taken the course, but you might need to go retake it if you're outside of that 7-year window. But again, it's physical sciences, general biology, anatomies 1 and 2 with your chemistry courses, meeting 8 hours. Organic is preferred. Biochemistry is great. But again, those aren't the required ones, but they would meet those requirements if you didn't specifically take inorganic, but you had organic and biochemistry, those would also work. For math, you would definitely need statistics or calculus or college algebra. And again, we have a wonderful team. If you do have any questions on your application, please just let us know. But these are the basic requirements. This is something that we should know, is that yes, they're not all created equal. So like I was saying, if you have questions, please just reach out and to just submit a request of approval to the Office of Enrollment, which you can get this here. And then I think Ashley did say that this would be recorded, so you guys should be able to have access if you didn't get notes today. And another good note is you can still apply if you are still taking a prerequisite course. Again, that prerequisite course must be completed though and submitted prior to orientation. So, but don't get discouraged if you have 1 or 2 prerequisites remaining. If you are enrolled and you do pass, you're not going to be denied acceptance. Requirements, again, I said you have a BA or a BS, as long as you've obtained all of your prereqs. Your cumulative GPA needs to be no less than a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale, and then your science GPA should be a 3.0. And then we really recommend shadow experience. Ideally, 16 hours of shadow experience would be great. If you do go to our website, we have a shadow experience form that you guys can download so that if you are on a rotation with a perfusionist, it is a stepwise thing that you can kind of guide you through what's going on, because there's 1,000 things you're looking at, and this printout that we provided for you will kind of help you stay perfusion focused as you're trying to digest all of those things that are happening. And then if you have all of those boxes checked, you would go through an interview, and then once you've completed your interview and you check that box and you are good to go, then you would receive a letter of acceptance. As I was talking about strongly, you need to go see what a perfusionist does to make sure that you can handle it. And finding a perfusionist to shadow can be hard, but it is very highly recommended. It'll just give you an idea of what you would be doing on a daily basis. And we think that's important before you take a huge investment into your education and future without actually spending some time in the OR. So if you do have trouble scheduling something like that, please reach out to us, and we can help you try and obtain a shadow opportunity. So how is our interviews? We're getting feedback on what our interviews are like, but this is just a brief overview. So it's a panel interview. It would just be the 3 primary staff of our program would be myself, Eric, and Brian via Zoom, and then they're held virtually. And we have several questions that we ask you about your experience, some anatomy questions just to kind of understand where you're at and where your base is for anatomy and physiology. We like to talk about what you absorbed in your shadowing process. And then lastly, we kind of just wrap up things of making sure that you've counted up the cost, that you're ready, and that you have the support needed to begin this 21-month journey. And then this is a huge question, is how many are we going to be taking? So that's something that we're working out. And so for the fall, what we looked to do, this would be for our second cohort, and not the first cohort. The second cohort, we looked to 15 to 20. And then at the end of year 5, again, our 5-year plan potentially is up to 25 students. And so that's what we look like on numbers. As you can tell, perfusion across the board is growing, and so the amount of class size has increased slightly, but it's not going to increase dramatically over the years, especially in the first couple of years. We want to make sure that we're producing quality students and that we're focusing on their education before we begin to include a mass number of students. What did tuition look like? Again, you can see our curriculum and the total hours of the whole program over those 21 months. It does come out to be about $1,625 per credit hour. There is some other fees, and then we would also want you to know that if you do travel for clinical rotation sites, that's something you would want to consider as a potential cost as well for school. I would include that in your housing costs if you're ever looking to take out loans, or if you have grant money, you will be traveling to some clinical rotation sites. Another thing that everybody always wants to know is, what are we going to get paid when you get out if you have taken loans and other things? So the average right now is much higher than it used to be, and it's continuing to grow. But the average base salary for a new grad is $148,000. That would usually go up once you've completed your boards post-graduation. However, you can still accept a job before you've taken your board exams after you graduate. And then the pay scales go up from there, depending on your organization, with bonuses and cost of living adjustments. It's a very competitive salary, and it's a great work-life balance, a wonderful profession, especially if you're interested in healthcare. You don't have to spend 4 years in med school to have a six-figure salary. So we are paid very well for what we do. Our accreditation status is something we are very excited to talk about, but everything that we have been asked to do, we've done and completed our status. And basically, we're waiting for a final receipt of accreditation from KHEP, which should arrive in the spring of 2025. So we're very excited to announce that. And we're going to graduate our first class here in May. So again, statistics on job placements and all that stuff for our program is something we aren't able to produce yet, but we do know that Perfusion is in high demand, and we already currently have at least 5 of our first cohorts that have accepted jobs or in the interviewing process. So just to let you guys know that we do have people that have jobs and are interviewing for jobs. So we're very excited about that. So the people that graduate in 2025 will have a master's degree in perfusion. They will be board eligible. And when they take that board and pass, we hoping that all of them pass. We know they will. They would receive what is called their CCP. So nurses have their RN, doctors have their MD. We have a CCP status once you've taken your boards. And so that's what that looks like. And that's what all the other perfusion programs offer is a degree, board eligibility, and the CCP. So when you do choose Emory and get in, again, you'd be in a small class of people that is 4,750, and you would be one of them. So again, it's a very small amount of people that do a lot of work. Again, the 900,000 operations, over 340,000 of those are bypass surgeries, and that's run by a very small number of individuals. So we're excited about that, and congratulations to you guys for finding this, and to those who do apply and get accepted. So at that time, I think that'll hopefully leave us up for some questions. Stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. And you can feel free to come on camera and ask your question. You can put it in the chat, whatever you all want to do.
And if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to nerd out real quick and show you this. I'll share my screen again. We're very excited to announce that we have virtual simulation experience. It's called VirMedics. And so on top of your high fidelity sims that you would get in real life, you actually do have the opportunity to go on virtual sim. We have the MetaQuest headsets. If you have your own headset, you have the eligibility to download it. But if you were wanting to do some more perfusion on your break outside of the required classwork, you can always hop into the VR space and actually practice perfusion. And hopefully this loads. Maybe it won't with the screen share. But there's only 2 schools right now that offer VR right now, and we're excited to say that we're one of those 2. We have a really great partnership with VirMedics. And as a master's degree student, you have the opportunity to publish and write a capstone. We encourage all of our students to publish and write capstones. And this being a new field and new profession, are being new, there's a lot of publishable opportunities and presentation opportunities that we have for our students. Can you guys see the screen? Is it loading? Okay, great. And what's really great about this is the team at VirMedics allows us to create the modules. So each of these modules coincides with our syllabus. So our students, they hop in and they complete their assignments, and we're able to monitor what they're doing in their progress. We have experience points, so we do play amongst ourselves to see who's spending the most time. But just to give you guys a quick visual, if that's okay on time, this is what it looks like in that space. Come on. You would go through your daily surgery, your patient's name, height, weight, all of those wonderful things. I want you to do some math. I'm just clicking answers here, and we got it right. And so this is what it looks like. And so you would get to see what it's like to sit in the hot seat, and or as we say, have the keys. And so you're sitting behind here, and it's very interactive. I would need to come over here and check if this machine is correct. So anyways, without going into too much detail, that's what our VR experience looks like. So we're very excited to offer that to our students.
All right, Benjamin, looks like there's a question in the chat saying, I know you gave the hourly breakdown for the cost of the program, but can you give an estimate of a yearly cost?
I'm pulling that information up now, and let me do this. I'll need to email that to you. The document I was looking at does not have the total estimated cost. If you could drop your email in the chat, you could send that directly to me. I'll be happy to get that info for you.
Okay, next question. What's the most rewarding part of being a perfusionist, and what is the most difficult? You are muted, Benjamin. There you go.
That's a good question. The most rewarding part, I would say, is that this job allows you it allows you to have a seat at the table. You have a job where your opinion matters, right? And your opinion is respected. And so some people desire to have a job where their opinion matters. And so I think that's very rewarding to be a part of a healthcare team and be able to speak up, one, for the patient, and then two, if you do have a way that you like to practice, you have the autonomy to practice that way. And so that's what's really rewarding about perfusion. And then again, if you get into the transplant world or to the pediatric world, being a part of those operations or being on organ procurement is it's very rewarding to see those good outcomes. The difficult part, you do deal with death. That is something that we deal with on a daily basis, and so you have to understand that people do die, but we have our 4 laws of codes of ethics, and we have to act benevolently and non-maleficently. And so if you just remind yourself that you are respecting those patients' desires and that you did try the hardest, right, and that you were a part of a team, that's how you can cope with those things. But you will sadly deal with death as a perfusionist. So that can be a difficult thing on some days.
I hope you guys are able to hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. So I hope I didn't miss it, but I saw in the chat.
Emily, you're breaking up, so we heard the beginning of that, but we didn't hear the actual question.
Hold on. It all now?
Yes.
I was curious. I don't know if I missed it, but I was curious when matriculation would be. I saw the deadlines. It's like rolling application, but I was trying to figure out the matriculation time.
That's a good question. So we do have 3 distinct application deadlines, and for all 3, the program would start in August.
If you'll give me just a second, I can't hear very well. I'm just going to put my earbuds on.
Oh, sure. So we do have 3 application deadlines every cycle. All the students admitted in all 3 application rounds, they would start in August. So we're currently we're just closing out the application cycle for fall 2025. So that application is currently closed, but as of March 1st, we'll have the application open up. And that's going to be for a start in fall of 2026.
So if you, because I graduated 12 years ago with those requirements, so I would need to retake those, correct?
And I want to apologize. We can't hear you again.
I think did you ask about prerequisites, finishing them in time? No,
I think
okay.
she said that she
Thank you.
graduated 12 years ago.
Okay. Okay, and so you're wondering about prerequisites?
Yes.
Okay.
I was wondering because I did graduate 12 years ago. I was just making sure I would need to retake.
So
There's no consideration for someone that's worked in, like I'm a respiratory therapist, but there's that I
yeah,
would still need to retake.
I would.
yeah, so you would still retake. There are a number of programs that actually have accelerated coursework. For someone who's a practitioner and who already did well, those accelerated courses can be very helpful. I will tell you that I've seen students who have been admitted that have needed to do as many as 7 prereqs because they've been in the workforce for a bit. Every last one of them completed their prereqs in time for the start of the program. So it's totally doable. And I'll be honest with you, that group that I'm thinking of right now where they had to do that, they got admitted, I want to say like in April. And so it is completely, if you're someone who has been out of school for a while, you need to redo prereqs, don't freak out. You're incredibly talented. You know the material. The accelerated coursework could be a great option for you.
And I was a RT in my past life. I still maintain my RT license, so that's a very common path. I would always encourage anybody to just apply. Apply anyways, even where you're at right now. Just apply. It doesn't hurt to get feedback. It doesn't hurt to see what it's like to go through the process. And if you haven't shadowed, shadow. Shadowing is just as important as those prereqs. But again, I wouldn't discourage anybody from applying and seeing how far you get through the process.
We have another
One other
question.
thing that I will say is that we do accept CLEP scores. So for some, they won't cover every one of our prereqs, but for some of the prereqs, they will cover them. And so as long as the CLEP scores are within 7 years of the start of the program, we can accept those as well.
That was my next question, but thank you.
All right, our next question is, can you give some insights about what work-life balance looks like for a perfusionist? Is there flexibility in the numbers of hours worked per week?
Yes. Yes. Work-life balance is an odd term, but it is a term that we use, and it is a great profession that allows you to have a life and enjoy your work, and whatever way that views. Every hospital is different. It's kind of like different sports teams and their practice schedules. They all show up to the game, but everyone has a different schedule. So most places have a rotating schedule where you're 4 days in the hospital, and 1 day you're on call. Some places you're on call for 7 days in a row, and then you have a week off. So it kind of varies. But on the average, perfusionists are working probably about 32 hours a week. It's a salary job, but those 30 hours you could be on bypass for over 300 minutes. So, uh, you earn those 32 hours for sure. But there's time to pick up the kids. I coach my daughter's soccer team. If you need to make appointments, and sometimes those days that you're there, you're the plus, what we call the +1. So you're in at 7 and you're home at noon. So um, you, if you had a big surgery the day before, your team's going to help you out the next day because we've all been there. You need that mental break, but it's a great profession.
Any other questions that anyone has before we wrap this up?
I have a question for the group. You guys can raise your hands or not, but how many people are local, or I guess in the state of Georgia? 1, 2, 3 that I can see. Okay. And then if you're not from Georgia, where are you from?
Well, I'm from Fresno, California.
Okay. You
And that
ready to move?
is something that we often get asked, just as person who is in the admissions office. For those of the that are not in the state of Georgia, this is an in-person, on-campus program, so you would have to move to Atlanta, which is an amazing place. I just moved here 7 months ago myself. Lots of things to do here. So many different walks of life are around you. Lots of different healthcare systems, as Benjamin was talking about. So it's certainly a factor in where you choose to apply. But Atlanta is a really wonderful place. There's a reason that everybody keeps moving here.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for hopping on and joining. Maybe one day we'll do like a in-person open house. I'm not sure if we do that, but I think we'd like to. So I'd encourage anybody to come to that if we host that, and we'll blast out to you guys, and you could see the Sim Center and everything. And thank you for all your questions. And hopefully, I'll see you in an interview or at the open house. So thank y'all.
Thank you so much.